Hello, my name is Karen Cooper. I work in the area of food systems, nutrition, sustainability and climate change. And today I'm going to be sharing with you some information about sustainable and healthy food systems and what the role of the private sector could be to try and get us there. We'll touch on various topics today. So what does a healthy and sustainable food system look like? The current food system versus what we actually need. We'll touch on the global goals, the EatLancet report, and then we'll spend some time on the role of the industry in this transformation. So what does a sustainable and healthy food system look like? It is in no way as simple as this picture could make it look. In our globalized world, it's very hard to know where your food comes from and how it was made and who was impacted by the product that they're buying and how can they be supported to make the right sort of purchases. So we need more to show more complexity in the food system. So here we have the more complex version. However, it's really difficult to devise actions based on this level of complexity. So we tend to depict a food system in a little more of a simplified way. It can show the interlinkages, it can show the opportunities of where we can act. This one in particular is linked to nutrition as part of how we should depict the food system. And so you can see here, for instance, food environments are very important. Consumer behavior is very important. Food supply chains are very important. So what is the current food system like? So if you work in food nutrition, I'm sure you're aware of all the usual issues that we know. So the high rate of overweight and obesity, the critical micronutrient deficiencies in the world, the now increasing issue of hunger and malnutrition, specifically now with COVID-19, and of course population growth exacerbating all of these. However, with the environmental side, maybe you're less familiar, we have a lot of issues with obviously the greenhouse gas emissions. A lot of our food creates a lot of greenhouse gas emissions to be grown, and this is expected to increase quite dramatically until 2050. We have a high rate of food loss and waste, and every time food does not make it into its final destination and is consumed, then all of the impacts that were incurred up until that moment is also wasted. We have a lot of land degradation related to food systems. So any time that land is changed in order to be able to grow food, we lose vital habitat and biodiversity, as well as degraded soils over time. So conversely, the food system that we do need is the opposite of this. So we need a food system that will provide the right amount of food for everyone, everywhere. We just produce this food within planetary boundaries. So we can't allow the food system to push us over those boundaries anymore. We need to make sure that all food system actors are rewarded responsibly, so having equity in our food system. This food system should provide healthy, quality diets affordably, again, very important for equity. It should not waste food, nutrition, and the policy environment must be enabling to enable this change to happen. So, the issue here is that the global food production is the single largest driver of environmental degradation and the transgression of planetary boundaries. So we cannot ignore the fact the food system must change for the planetary side. And so if we link this to the SDGs, the global goals, you might think that food is only related to several of these. So for instance, our hunger or health or responsible consumption, but actually food is underlying, the food system underlies many of these. They're all very much interconnected, and we cannot actually achieve the SDGs by 2030 without tackling the issues of our food system. So related to this, the EatLancet report came out in 2019, and it was a very seminal report in the fact that it tried to tackle one of the big questions. So can we achieve healthy diets from sustainable food systems to feed everyone on the planet by 2050? And so this was worked on for quite some period of time in a very multidisciplinary way. And the report came out with a planetary health plate, which you can see here. The first half of the plate is vegetables and fruits, and the other half covers whole grains, plant proteins, plant oils, and modest amounts of animal sources of protein. And these are put in as optional foods. The idea being that you can still reach the nutrition that you need without requiring animal sources in your diet. So therefore it covers vegan, vegetarian, things like this. It also, for a lot of these, creates ranges. So you have flexibility within that diet to try and meet your cultural and personal preferences for foodstuffs. So the role of the industry in the transformation of the food system. Here we have some of the things that industry can do. So the most important thing is be a part of the change, acknowledge the fact the food system must shift and be a part of that change that has to happen. Most of our industry are indeed choosing to do this, and you can see that in many of the industry groups that are being set up right now. Next, we can talk about evolving the value of food. So there was a very interesting report out in the UK. It calculated for every pound spent on food, there was a shadow pound that was being put up as unseen expenses for that foodstuff. And this is a mixture of health consequences and environmental consequences of that pound of food initially spent. And at some point, this is being paid for either by the environment or by the health systems of the countries involved. So it's a real game changer to really think about how we could change the value of food in our system. Next, caring for farmers. The people who grow our food are very, very important people, and we really must care for them. So if we think about how many farms are run by families, so 90% of the 570 million farms are managed by families. These are families that need to be also taken care of. Family farms produce 80% of the food in Asia, Africa, and South America, and they are custodians of 75% of the agricultural resources. So these are really important people. We also need to take more care for nature and stop wasting what we are also taking from the land. So we are not using many of the species that are available to us for foodstuffs. There are over 7,000 species that are edible by humans, yet only 5 cereal crops are providing 2/3 of the energy intake of people. Only 12 crops are providing 75% of the world's food. This is a very difficult position to be in for resilience in the future and also to promote biodiversity. So we need to start thinking more about promoting diversity, both in diets, but also in what we grow, and stopping therefore wasting also what comes off of that land. So next is consumer diets. So the food environment, shifting the food environment is so important to help make the changes for healthy and sustainability easier for consumers to do. This can be done through the information that they read on pack, the information they might get via TV adverts or offered with their food in restaurants. How can we make that easier for consumers? Affordability is also an interesting part of this. How can we make sure that healthy and sustainable is also affordable and therefore easier for consumers to choose? This example here is the Peas Please initiative by the Food Foundation in the UK, trying to put vegetables back on the plates of consumers. The next one is on offering tasty alternatives. So to help consumers make that shift, we also have to make it tasty and desirable. And again, making that choice easier for them to make those sort of shifts. Specifically, the example here is on meat consumption. So if we want to help consumers reduce their meat consumption, we can help provide tasty vegetarian or vegan alternatives or even hybrid alternatives to make that happen. Next is supporting chefs for change. Chefs are very important for helping to set trends, helping people to try new food, new recipes. And so we'll need them to help make sure that a healthy and sustainable diet is also a tasty and acceptable one. And lastly, working with the industry. It is not something we can ever do alone as single companies. We must work together to really mobilize ourselves for collective action. And so an example here is the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, where many of us in industry are working together to try and see what we can do to help transform the food system together. So what does this mean for nutritionists and for dietitians? What can you do to help affect this change? So you have nutrition expertise already, so consider the diets and the products that maybe you already work on. How can you think about changing those diets, those products, to make them not just healthier, but also more sustainable? There are news networks out there, such as the FCRN by Oxford University, which can help bring you the latest information. So joining one of these will help bring you more information as well. You can educate. You have touch points available to you as to how we can use these channels to help bring healthy and sustainable recommendations to consumers. So if you are available and to talk in forums, do you do training programs, use of online media, all of these are touch points where we can help to educate consumers for both sustainability and health for their diets. Can you connect closer to sustainability? There will be local organizations working in this area. Maybe they're working on rural communities or biodiversity. Any of these options you can help to work together with to connect yourself closer to sustainability. And of course, lastly, we need action. So we need you to help drive action as well. We can all advocate for better change in this area for the food system. What is the pathway for your organization to help move us in this direction? Drive interventions that might be available to you. The example here is on the nutrition of rural communities because it's one that we happen to work on, but there are many, many others out there. Can you contribute to studies, building of new science in this area? And how can you connect up to local organizations that can also help drive change, such as a local chefs network? So thank you so much for this opportunity to share this most important area of sustainability and food systems. I hope you have some ideas now about how you as a nutritionist or dietitian can help tackle this global problem. Thank you so much.